All right, so I'm here with Glenn Cowan, General Partner and founder of the Special Operations Innovation Fund 1. Glenn, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
So obviously I think our viewers are a little bit more used to public companies, but that's not quite why you're here today. You are with a fund focused on innovation in the military, specifically obviously Special Operations Forces.
Yep.
Could you give a quick overview of the fund itself?
Yeah, for sure. I incorporated my company 19 Investments in 2013. I did that while I was serving as a sort of mid to senior level officer in Canadian Special Operations Forces, and that was done basically just out of a passion for investing and a hobby and sort of an entrepreneurial spirit.
You grew your own investments while you were in the forces yourself, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I started investing with danger and risk hardship money in 2005. The government gave us tax-free money, which is hilarious now considering we're in an election mode and it's all about taxes anyway. But they gave us tax-free money while we were away. And I started just investing that as a proprietary retail investor. I kind of really got a flavor for it. I really got to turn it into a passion and a hobby. Incorporated 19 in 2013 and then really had a sort of an aha eureka moment as I was starting to transition out from the military. And I realized the more I looked at tech investing and the more I looked and understood sort of the amount of money and the ideas behind raising and sort of building incubators and technological accelerators, you know, my theory and my thesis is predicated on the fact that a special operations unit is probably the best incubator and accelerator for technology that's out there.
Yeah, and can you just touch on what is a special operations unit?
So a special operations unit is a military organization that generally is responding to unique or specialized tasks that are given to them either by their military command or in the case of some of the higher level special operations unit, they're achieving strategic tasks for a government, but doing so at a tactical military level.
Right, okay.
And so to make them special is not elite or, you know, superhero or anything like that. Special just really sort of articulates they're different. Okay. And special, they're specially selected, specially trained, and specially equipped. But generally what special forces units do really well is they do the basics brilliantly. Okay. And so really focusing on being sort of brilliant tacticians at really basic skill sets, but we plan and execute with a lot of precision. Right. And in our planning processes, we build supporting and contingency plans that really help mitigate risk. And that was part of the sort of the aha moment I had was I said, let's apply the planning procedures that special forces use for high risk operations and apply that to the investment battle space where sort of, you know, the challenges can be equally ambiguous and you want to be protecting your downside at all times.
Absolutely. That's kind of the key to investing. And obviously this isn't, or using or looking to the military for innovation isn't new. There's been quite a few technological breakthroughs, probably some of the biggest in the world, really. Do you want to talk to some of the key ones you like to highlight?
Absolutely. So I think it's, you know, there's no shortage of government money that's being spent on long-term innovation. Right. What I like about the military space and special forces in particular is, you know, within the military construct, a special forces unit, I kind of refer to them as the entrepreneurs or the innovators of the military.
Like the Y-Incubators, I think you said. Or the Y-Combinator, sorry.
The kind of that Y-Combinator, that sort of risk-taking, getting out in front of problems, and they're solving problems. And in the investment space, specifically with venture capital, it's all about solving a problem. What can you do that solves a problem? And in the military space, we're solving problems that the rest of sort of industrial society or other commercial applications aren't probably going to see those problems for about 10 or 12 years.
Right, okay.
And so great examples to answer your question are GPS, a military innovation, you know, linking satellites and global positioning systems. Well, we now can't imagine our lives without GPS.
You took an Uber to get here.
I took an Uber to get here. Digital photography is another great example. Computer applications. The one that I'm probably most specific or most sort of focused on or use as a case study is drones, automation, and robots. Yeah. And I went to Afghanistan in 2002, sort of the first contingent of Canadians into Afghanistan, and there were no tactical drones in Afghanistan.
It's hard to imagine.
By 2006, you know, an American company had placed an order and sold a $400 million tender to the US DoD for 9,000 systems, that next year they IPO'd on the NASDAQ at $17. They're now trading at about $75 and have a market cap of about $2 billion. They've blown out about 7 or 8 more SKUs and are now, a kind of unicorn status in sort of that world of like automation, robotics, UAVs. And so what we're seeing as well is that was 2002 to 2006.
Sure.
Big oil and gas, big industry, haven't really started looking at sort of building out these types of programming, sort of budgetary funding for this type of technology. They're limping in. They're all trying to do a digital revolution. They're all sort of getting on board with Industry 4.0.
Yeah.
And yet the military's been Industry 4.0 for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And so I use that sort of thesis to try to find some of the next tech disruption that we're going to have. And I think I found a few really interesting sort of avenues of companies that I'm investing in and sectors that I'm looking at where I'm seeing that next sort of GPS type disruption kind of coming into the industry.
Great segue then to highlight some of those companies. I think there's 4 that you're really focused on. Do you want to just give a quick high level on some of those, what you like, what you're seeing?
Yeah, for sure. The first company that I've invested in with the fund is O2 Industries. O2 Industries is a Waterloo-based company, kind of formed out of the communitech sector. And these guys are your sort of prototypical founders, young entrepreneurs with a vision. And they're solving the problem of air pollution. And so they've built out an air pollution mask that basically applies filter economics and innovation to a stagnated industry of breathing clean air. They believe that everyone has the right to breathe clean air. And in Canada, we take for granted how great our air is. But when we look at China, India, Asian markets, we see
huge problems there.
Huge problems. 8 million people are killed every year by air pollution or sort of COPD, chronic pulmonary issues. And these guys have built a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
I got involved because I came from an organization in the military where we had pretty much limitless resources. And for all the tech that we bought, we didn't have a piece of equipment that we could use to just properly filter air that was custom designed and custom built for our specs.
Right. And it's not just, and just to put it into context, so that I've looked into this a little bit more. It's not just like any old air filter. It's sort of like an Internet of Things. It's connected to the internet where you're able to see its functionality, provide real-time tracking.
Yeah, so we're integrating communications into the respirator. We're building out kind of the first IoT respirator device. And with Apple Watch and all the sort of wrist-mounted tech wearables that we have that measure sort of cardiovascular health, this will be the first, if not one of the first, respiratory health wearable devices. And it's really penetrating into military and security markets. With one particular product, we've seen astronomical growth with a medical device, being that we're the first globally recognized mask that can actually filter ambient air while delivering medical grade oxygen. And so doctors are now able to prescribe this mask. We have it's approved as a Class 1 medical device with the FDA and Health Canada. And I mean,
so you're moving through it.
We're moving through it, and we're moving fast.
And how are the sales generate? I know last time you said you had some big orders on the line.
Yeah, we closed those orders. We closed a big order with CVS Retail in the US. We've closed another big order with an American distributor, and we just closed 3 big Asian orders. So things are moving very quickly. It's an exciting company to be a part of, and just a great entrepreneurial success story of 2 young founders from Waterloo.
Excellent.
The second company that I'm doing some work with is called Nothing Artificial. It's a Montreal-based AI company or human intelligence company, but kind of playing in the AI space. And they have a core engine product called NeuroTracker. And NeuroTracker is a cognitive training tool that enhances brain function. It was originally developed for Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United to help elite soccer players sort of gain a better situational awareness, sort of 3D surroundings, understand sort of decision making, see the world a little bit faster, reaction time, cognitive function, executive function, decision making. My organization in the military was the second client. So we bought it thinking that this tool is something that could help predict cognitive function and help us with a selection process.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Just by being able to have another piece of data that we could correlate with some of the other aspects that we were working on. I was actually injured at work, and I took a pretty good head injury, and I ended up using this tool as as almost like a physio rehabilitation tool for a brain injury. And since then, the company has gone on to validate themselves as part of the US FDA Digital Therapeutic Alliance. So it's now prescribable software to support ADHD, Alzheimer's, and dementia in the medical space. And it's moving into stocks, investing, options trading, esports,
Everything.
elite performance. It's kind of anyone with a brain can benefit
who needs elite performance, which
from
is
this tool.
everyone these days.
But not just elite performance. They have a line that's targeting schools.
Oh, okay.
So we've just closed a pilot project in the Middle East where we're integrating it into elementary grade schools, and it's helping kids focus. It's helping identify learning disabilities. It's helping teachers build sort of custom learning plans for students based on their rate of absorption, because it's allowing data in how the brain is working. So that's another kind of exciting company. But the one that I'm incredibly excited about, where I think there's a big game changer coming, is in the space of additive metal additive manufacturing.
So 3D printing for metals.
3D printing for metals. And there's an Ottawa-based company called Equispheres that I've been doing some work with. And Equispheres has built a powder and a manufacturing process around taking, raw aluminum and putting it in one end of a reactor, and at the other end of the reactor comes a very fine particulate powder that's actually the ink that's used in 3D metal printers. And their powder has homogeneous particles when looked at under an electron microscope. And you may say, so what? But what does that do for the industry? Well, it provides even distribution, fluidity, flow. It can mean that they can actually ascertain bond strength when the metal is printed. They've made some fantastic inroads with some of the biggest OEMs in the defense, aerospace, luxury automobile manufacturers. They have validated and qualified their product with these OEMs and the tech labs as well as academia. And so that company's moving very quickly and looks like they're going to be taking a global position in
additive manufacturing space.
Manufacturing. And there's lots of different angles to play with it, but if they have the ink that works on all the printers,
then you're set, right?
They got the supply chain. So they're an exciting company to be working with.
Excellent. And so looking forward, if there's any investors who are interested in the fund, could you want to just share some details? Like $30 million, 10-year fund. You guys are looking pretty early on, 10x hurdles, your target, very, very Series A focused, I believe.
That's right.
And so if anyone were interested, what are some of the parameters that they would need to be able to meet?
So it's a $30 million fund, and it's a 10-year life of the fund for sure. I'm looking at investing and divesting those funds into about 9 to 13 different companies. I'm focusing at Series A. I'm leaving 10% of the fund available for seed in the event that we see some interesting opportunities that are a little earlier. We want to be able to capitalize on those and then grow with them. And I'm leaving 10% of the fund available to reinforce success on the Series A and continue to grow with these companies. We're targeting a 10x hurdle, which is ambitious. But the focus on the validity and the credibility that a military client and a military application can provide, from what we've seen with historic examples, can correlate very well with some of these examples into industry and commercial success. And then it's a typical 2 and 20, so kind of industry standard in terms of the sort of 1/9 compensation on the fund. And again, we're moving quickly. We've gotten investment from limited partners in sort of sovereign wealth space, high net worth families, defense OEMs, and other potential institutions that are, on the fence about coming in. It's an interesting space because traditionally big institutions don't want to play in the military space. But again, the thesis is all predicated on the fact that we're using the military as a validation tool, and we're not actually looking at companies that would be traditionally aligned with like defense technologies.
For sure, You're almost that step away so that they can play in the military space, but tell people they're not playing in the military space.
That was the idea.
That's excellent. Well, I wish you the best of luck with your companies. It sounds like there's some very exciting things on the horizon.
Thank you. Right on.